Welcome to Kunzy Podcast English, the place where English gently touches your heart and stays. Today, I want to take you into a world you may have never imagined, a world where sleep itself can help you master English. Sounds unreal? Just give me a few minutes and you'll see this is not just a dream. Have you ever felt exhausted trying to learn English? You push yourself to remember new words, listen to English every day, memorize grammar rules, only to wake up the next day barely remembering anything. You try, over and over, and still you feel stuck, wondering, maybe English just isn't for me. If you've ever had moments like that, let me tell you this: you are not alone. And maybe, just maybe, what you need isn't to try harder, but to try differently. What if I told you, you don't need to force yourself to memorize more vocabulary? You don't need to sit at your desk with piles of boring grammar books. What if instead you could just relax, feel, and sleep? That's right, sleep. Picture this: a peaceful evening. You're lying in bed, lights off, the room quiet, and in the background, a soft English voice is reading a slow, easy-to-understand story. There's no pressure to understand, no need to remember anything. You're simply relaxing and listening. At that moment, when you're feeling calm, safe, and content, your brain begins to absorb English more naturally than ever before. Science has proven that positive emotions boost memory. When you learn while feeling happy, relaxed, and open, the knowledge sinks deeper. And when you sleep, your brain doesn't shut down. Quite the opposite. It quietly starts to work, sorting, organizing, and reinforcing what you learned. If you spent the day learning English with joy, then your sleep becomes a silent teacher, helping you review, solidify, and lock in that knowledge for the long term. A Harvard study once showed that people who learn with positive emotions can remember vocabulary up to 30% better than those under stress. And when you combine that with 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep each night, your brain becomes an automatic learning system, working even while you dream. From today on, you don't need to turn learning English into a battle. Let it be a gentle journey. Play a soft podcast, let English flow in the background while you tidy up, relax, or get ready for bed. Let the language sink into your subconscious like a quiet song. You don't need to remember everything, because your sleep will take care of the rest. This is Kunzy Podcast English, where even your dreams can help you speak English. And today's topic is how to learn English in your sleep. Let's unlock the true power of your subconscious in the next part. You already know that sleep isn't just for rest. It can actually become a silent classroom where your brain quietly absorbs knowledge without any effort from you. But that only happens if you're listening to the right things. Choose the wrong audio, and you won't just lose a good night's sleep. You'll overload your brain, confuse your subconscious, and walk away having learned absolutely nothing. So the big question is, what should you listen to? What kind of audio allows your subconscious to truly open up, letting English flow into your mind as gently as a stream, without stress, without pressure? This is where many people go wrong. They play a random English video at night, hoping their brain will somehow learn while they sleep. But they don't realize not all content is suitable for sleep learning. Some sounds actually wake up the brain, create tension, and disrupt the natural rhythm of sleep, making subconscious learning impossible. But on the other hand, there are certain types of audio that do the exact opposite. They're designed to calm your nervous system, to sync with your brain waves, to unlock deep memory pathways. These sounds are subtle but incredibly powerful. They are the key to absorbing language naturally, even in your dreams. And in just a moment, I'm going to reveal to you the 4 most powerful types of audio, each carefully chosen to guide you into a deep state of relaxation, while quietly activating your subconscious to learn English more naturally and effectively than you ever thought possible. If you've ever wished you could wake up speaking better English, effortlessly, don't go anywhere. What you're about to discover might just change the way you learn forever. Audio 1. Slow English stories. Let your subconscious reconnect with what it already knows. Imagine this. You're lying in bed, the lights are off, and the day's noise slowly fades away. You press play. A soft, familiar voice begins to speak, slow, clear, and soothing. It's telling a simple English story you've heard before. You're not wide awake, trying to understand every word. You're relaxed, safe, floating gently between wakefulness and sleep. And while you drift into slumber, something amazing is happening in the background. Your conscious mind may be asleep, but your subconscious is fully awake, listening, recognizing, reinforcing. That's the secret of slow English stories. When you listen to a story you've already heard once or twice, your brain doesn't panic. It doesn't try to analyze every word or decode complex grammar structures. Instead, it enters a state of recognition, familiarity. And familiarity during sleep is powerful. It signals to the brain, this is safe, this is known, you can let it in. This is where real subconscious learning begins. You're not fighting to remember. You're not forcing yourself to study. Instead, you're allowing your mind to revisit the story again and again until the rhythm, the vocabulary, even the sentence structures begin to take root, deeply, effortlessly. But here's the catch. The content has to be simple, clear, emotionally neutral or positive. No drama, no stress. That's why the best stories for sleep learning are the ones that feel like a bedtime lullaby. Light, warm, and kind to your brain. Even if you don't understand every word, and you won't, and that's okay. Your brain picks up patterns. It begins to anticipate meanings. It connects sounds with feelings. And with each repeated listen, it strengthens those connections. Think of it like this. Every night you listen, your subconscious is walking the same forest path. The first night, the path is rough. The second night, it's clearer. By the 5th or 10th night, that path becomes a smooth, familiar trail, and English becomes less foreign, less scary, and more a part of you. Some wonderful sources for these kinds of stories include Lento English, English Class 101, Sleep Listening, and Dream English Stories. These platforms create stories with slow, clear pronunciation designed exactly for this kind of gentle subconscious input. But the magic doesn't come from the platform. It comes from consistency. Choose one story, listen to it awake once or twice, then play it every night before bed, and trust your brain to do the rest. You don't have to study harder. You don't have to stay up late memorizing vocabulary. You simply have to create a ritual, a quiet, calming ritual of listening and letting go. And over time, as your subconscious takes in more and more English, you'll wake up one day and realize you're not just learning English anymore. You're living it. Audio 2. Daily phrase loops. When whispered words in your sleep become powerful beliefs, imagine you've already drifted into a peaceful sleep. Everything around you is still and quiet. But in that silence, something is happening. Not in your conscious mind, but deeper than that, in your subconscious. A soft voice begins to speak gently into your ears. I believe in myself. I speak English clearly. English is easy. English is fun. These words, spoken slowly and rhythmically like a lullaby, don't disturb your sleep, nor do they stress your brain. On the contrary, they lead you into deeper relaxation, a state where your subconscious opens up and becomes ready to absorb what your conscious mind often resists during the day. Even in deep sleep, your brain never really switches off. It listens, it absorbs, and little by little, it begins to store these phrases as if they were true. You're no longer learning through force, memory drills, or grammar rules. You're absorbing English through feelings, in the most natural and effective way, just like a child picking up their first language. Phrases like, I can speak English easily, I feel confident, or I understand English well. When repeated during your sleep, slowly rewire your inner thoughts. Night by night, phrase by phrase, these become your new truth. And within just a few weeks, you'll begin to notice something incredible. You feel calmer, more confident, and surprisingly, you speak English more clearly than before, without even knowing how it happened. Because you're not just learning by day, you're learning even in your sleep. You're planting the seeds of English deep within your subconscious, the most powerful part of your mind, the part that decides whether you dare to speak, to understand, and to grow. You don't need to understand every word. You don't need to memorize. All you have to do is listen, each night before sleep, or even as you drift off, and let those gentle affirmations do their quiet, patient, and powerful work. Sometimes, the key to mastering English isn't pushing harder, but letting go a little and allowing your subconscious to take the lead. Audio 3, English with background music. When English and music lull you to sleep and nourish your mind. Imagine a peaceful night. Outside your window, the sky is quiet and still. The city has slowly fallen asleep. You're lying in your familiar bed, a soft light glowing in the corner of the room. All the noise of the day has faded away. In that stillness, a gentle piano melody begins to play. The soothing tune caresses your soul, slowing your heartbeat, deepening your breaths. Then a calm English voice begins to speak, slow, clear, and warm, whispering in your ear. Relax your mind. You are learning. You are growing. You don't need to try. No need for textbooks, no need to flip through a dictionary. You just listen and let yourself completely relax. Amid the waves of sound, the English language seeps into your mind naturally, without force, without pressure, without fear of mistakes. And the amazing thing is, even as you sleep, your subconscious is still working. It continues to absorb, organize, and store what it hears. This is when language takes root at its deepest level. Maybe you've often felt that learning English is a heavy task. Every time you listen or speak, you're afraid of mispronouncing, using the wrong word, forgetting grammar. But try this. Let English come to you like a friend, non-judgmental and gentle. Let it flow with music. Let each word be as light as a breath. Because in that moment, when you let go of tension and your heart is at ease, is when your brain opens the most to receive. Many scientific studies have shown that background music soothes the nervous system and enhances learning, especially when paired with language. Music reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, and activates the hippocampus, the brain's memory center. When you learn English with relaxing background music, you're not just learning with logic, but with emotion. The vocabulary, phrases, and pronunciation don't just enter your brain. They touch your heart. They become a part of you, not because you memorized them, but because you lived with them. This method is especially powerful for those who struggle with insomnia, anxiety, or frustration while learning English. Maybe you've tried hard, memorized thousands of words, watched countless videos, but if fear still lives in your mind, fear of being wrong, fear of not being good enough, then learning becomes difficult. So change your approach. Instead of pushing harder, soften. Instead of staying up late to study, let yourself rest deeply and let English gently drift into your dreams. You can begin by choosing an audio with a calm English voice, slow pace, and soothing background music like piano, ocean waves, or nature sounds. Play it softly before bed. Place your device away from your head to avoid disturbance and let it play for 20 to 30 minutes as you fall asleep. No need to understand every sentence. Don't pause to look up words. Trust that your subconscious is smarter than you think. It will absorb those sounds, and when you make this a nightly habit, you're building a deep, lasting connection to the language. Remember, learning a language is not a race. It's a journey of feeling, absorption, and experience. And sometimes the moments when you think you're not learning, when you're simply sleeping and breathing softly in the night, are when your mind is learning the most. So don't be surprised if, after a few weeks, you wake up one morning and suddenly understand an English phrase you don't remember studying. Don't be shocked when a familiar word just slips out naturally in a conversation. That's the result of planting seeds each night, with music, with voice, with relaxation and trust. Let English become part of your sleep, soft as your breath, gentle as a lullaby. Because while you sleep, language stays awake. And in that silence, you are quietly becoming a more fluent, more confident, and more peaceful version of yourself. Have you ever wondered if there's a way to learn English without forcing yourself, without cramming, and especially without even being awake? A method you can start with just 3 minutes before falling asleep. No textbooks, no complicated tools, just you, a pair of headphones, and a few simple English sentences. Sounds like a fairy tale, right? But it's not. It's real. And this method has been used by thousands of people around the world to absorb language into their subconscious while they sleep. It's called shadowing before sleep, or as some like to say, dream shadowing. You lie down, close your eyes, a soft yellow light glows in your room. You put on your headphones and play an English audio. A gentle voice begins to speak slowly and clearly. I'm confident. I speak English clearly. You repeat. No stress, no need to pronounce it perfectly. Just repeat as if you're whispering to yourself. Then you repeat the next sentence and another, just for a few minutes. 2 to 3 minutes is enough. And then you don't have to do anything. Just breathe deeply, keep your eyes closed, and let the audio continue to play while you fall asleep. No memorizing, no note-taking, no need to understand every word. And while you're doing nothing, your brain is doing everything. Here's a truth that most people don't know. The moment right before you fall asleep is when your subconscious mind is most open. Your brain is like a door cracked open, ready to receive whatever you offer it. If you're scrolling through your phone, reading bad news, or worrying before bed, you're feeding your subconscious that negativity. But if you listen to positive English phrases, you're sending a message deep inside your brain, asking it to keep working while you dream. Especially when you speak those phrases out loud just before sleeping, your brain marks that information as important. Like when you make a promise right before bed, your brain says, okay, I need to remember this. So when you shadow an English sentence and then let it play in your sleep, you're programming your brain. Shadowing is a technique where you repeat immediately after what you hear, like a shadow. You hear, I am strong, and you say it at the same time. I am strong. It helps with pronunciation, reflexes, and getting used to English sounds, something textbooks can't teach. But when you combine shadowing with your sleep state, you're upgrading it into a powerful tool that penetrates your subconscious. Step 1. Choose simple, inspiring English phrases. For example, I'm confident. I speak English clearly. English comes naturally to me. I enjoy speaking English. My English gets better every day. Step 2. Play audio with those sentences or record your own voice. The voice should be slow, clear, ideally with soft background music. Step 3. When you're in bed, ready to sleep, repeat those phrases 2 to 3 times. Not too much, just enough to trigger your memory. Step 4. After that, stop speaking. Just lie back and let the audio continue to play as you drift off. That's when the magic happens. During sleep, especially during non-REM and REM phases, your brain doesn't rest. It works even harder. It filters, organizes, and strengthens the information you absorbed before sleep. That means if you feed your brain positive English, simple, clear, easy to remember phrases, it will prioritize that data like it's gold. You're using your brain's supercomputer while unconscious. After a week, something surprising might happen. One morning, you'll wake up and a full English sentence will pop into your head. No one taught you, no one reminded you, but it's there, as if you've known it forever. And you actually have. You heard it 100 times in your sleep. That's how sleep shadowing works. It makes English feel natural, familiar. No more fear, no more pressure. Don't choose an audio that's too long. 5 to 15 minutes is enough. Stick with short, positive sentences, not academic language. Keep the rhythm calm, no sudden noises or stressful sounds. Use headphones or a low speaker volume, not too loud. Repeat this every night for at least 7 to 14 days. And if you stay consistent, you won't just improve your English. You'll change the way you think. You'll wake up as a new version of yourself, more confident, more relaxed, and more connected to English. No struggle, no long hours, just trust the process. And let your dreams do the rest. Try it tonight. Just one sentence. Repeat. Then let sleep bring you closer to English in the gentlest way you've ever known. Many English learners often overlook this important fact. Not everything in English is suitable to listen to while sleeping. In fact, some types of content, if listened to during sleep, can not only fail to help, but might also disrupt your brain, causing stress and confusion, and even leading to poorer sleep quality, leaving you tired when you wake up. One of the most common mistakes is listening to English news. You might think news will help expand your vocabulary, but the reality is quite the opposite. News reports usually contain a lot of complex information, fast-paced speech, intense intonation, and constantly changing topics with little to no repetition. When you're in that in-between state of being half awake and half asleep, such audio content becomes hard for the brain to process and may confuse both your subconscious and your sleep cycle. Another type of content to avoid is difficult or academic level podcasts. If you're a beginner or not yet used to native level speech, trying to listen to high-level podcasts filled with advanced vocabulary and deep discussions can be overwhelming. Even if you're not fully awake to understand, your subconscious will still be overloaded as your brain is attempting to process new information in a chaotic way. Rather than helping you learn faster, it may even cause you to feel anxious or frustrated with English listening. Long grammar lessons are also not ideal for sleep. The reason is simple. What you need during sleep are calming, repetitive, familiar sounds that help you relax. Grammar content, on the other hand, is often dry, emotionless, and difficult for the subconscious to absorb without full attention. Grammar is best studied during the day, when your mind is alert and capable of reasoning and retention. Finally, do not choose completely new content you've never listened to before. If your brain has no prior exposure to the material, it lacks the foundation to compare, recall, or reinforce it. That makes passive listening almost useless because the subconscious cannot connect with something entirely unfamiliar. Instead, choose audio you've listened to at least once or twice before, something you're already a bit familiar with. This way, your brain can more easily retrieve past memories and strengthen the learning. In short, avoid listening to anything that makes you feel stressed, confused, or unfamiliar during sleep. Let your sleep be a gentle, repetitive, and familiar space where your subconscious is nurtured, not overwhelmed. When you learn to choose the right content, you'll find that learning English is no longer a burden, but becomes a natural, inspiring journey, even while you dream. When applying the method of listening to English while sleeping, there are a few small but extremely important tips that help you optimize effectiveness while still ensuring your sleep stays deep and restful. This isn't just about randomly playing some audio and going to bed. It's an art, a delicate combination of intentional choice and understanding how the brain works during sleep. First of all, pay attention to volume. This may seem like a simple factor, but it has a huge impact on both your sleep quality and your ability to absorb information. The ideal volume isn't one where you can clearly hear every word. It should be as soft as the sound of gentle rain outside the window, just enough to slip into your subconscious without startling you or interrupting your sleep. Here's a little trick. If you have to focus slightly to hear it clearly, that's probably the right volume. Absolutely avoid turning it up too loud. That can make your brain strain to process it, or worse, wake you up mid-sleep and ruin the effectiveness. Next, choosing the right voice matters just as much. Everyone has their preferences. Some find a deep male voice relaxing, others prefer a gentle female tone. Some people are more familiar with British English, while others find American English easier to follow. No matter what your preference is, the key is to choose a voice that feels comforting, soothing, and not mentally stimulating. When you listen to a voice that makes you feel safe and calm, your brain is more likely to open up and accept the language, especially in a relaxed pre-sleep state. Another surprisingly powerful tip: use a timer. You don't need the audio playing all night long. In fact, just 30 to 60 minutes is enough. This window coincides with the early stages of sleep, when the brain is still processing daytime input and is especially receptive to repeated patterns and external cues. Setting a timer to stop the audio after that period protects your sleep from being disrupted later in the night and prevents your brain from becoming overwhelmed by hours of continuous sound. Here's something fascinating backed by science. During deep sleep, the brain isn't completely off, as we once believed. On the contrary, it continues to work in silence, organizing memories, filtering information, and remaining especially sensitive to familiar, repetitive sounds. So all you need is an audio track with a friendly voice, gentle volume, and simple positive content repeating over 30 to 60 minutes. And you're giving your brain the perfect chance to absorb English in a natural, effortless way. In short, learning English while sleeping isn't just about what you hear. It's also about how you hear it. A reasonable volume, a soothing voice, and a smart use of time, these are the golden keys to unlocking the full potential of sleep learning. When used correctly, you'll find that English starts to feel more familiar, approachable, and effortless, like a trusted companion in your sleep. And from there, you'll no longer feel alone on your language learning journey, because in your dreams, a quiet mentor is right there, whispering English into your subconscious every night. Here's something wonderful you should always remember. You don't have to be perfect to make progress. You don't need to pronounce everything like a native speaker. You don't need to understand every word. And you definitely don't need to pressure yourself into cramming too much in a short time. All you need is consistency. Just spend a few minutes each night before sleep playing a gentle, familiar English audio. Let that voice whisper into your subconscious as you drift off. Night after night, those simple phrases you've heard again and again will start to stick. And after a few weeks, you'll be surprised when certain words suddenly make sense, when your mouth effortlessly says things that once felt foreign, and when your English reflexes become smoother. The best part? English will no longer feel like a difficult subject. It will start to feel like a natural part of your life, like background music that accompanies your nightly routine. Be patient, be kind to yourself, and trust the process. When you're no longer afraid of English, you open the door to a whole new world, one filled with knowledge, opportunities, and freedom. If you found this content helpful and want more inspiring, insightful episodes each week, don't forget to like, share with friends who are learning English, and subscribe to Kunzy Podcast English. This is your space to learn English naturally. No pressure, no dry grammar rules, just stories, emotions, and real connection. See you tonight in your dreams, where English is no longer a stranger, but a trusted companion of your subconscious mind.